The other thing I've tried to do, especially in the early stages when I didn't have a lot of work and I was building, if I got a lead, I called them as fast as I could, and then I arranged to do the quote that same afternoon. And they were like, "Really? You're coming today?" Yeah, I'll be there this afternoon. I would give them a window of time that I'd be there, and I'd get there in that window of time. And they're like, "Oh, I didn't expect you out today." I'm like, "Well, it's part of what we do. It's part of who gyms are." And straight away, they're like, "Oh, wow." And I give them a business card. And then again, you're often 3 or 4 out of 5 are going, "When can you start?" You haven't discussed the quote, your price, the job. They're blown away that they've got someone so responsive.
So Mark, thank you very much for joining us on the Jim's Mowing and Jim's Group podcast today. We do appreciate it. And you sent a really good email out to Jim and you wanted to come on the podcast, which is awesome for me. We're always looking for guests. So what inclined you, what made you want to come on and talk about your story?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. I just, going into gyms, there's a lot of apprehensions. I'm sure there is with everyone. You've made the decision, but is it really going to work? Is it going to do what you hope it would do, what you believe it would do, what you hear that it will do? And for me, it's been that. It's been everything I wanted it to be, everything that it's promoted it is. And I just wanted to talk about that because I felt there's obviously going to be others out there that, should I do it? Is it going to, is it what they say it is? And I just wanted to confirm that, yes, it is.
That's great to hear. We can end it there. No, but what we can do is, I remember you from training, because I overheard you with, we do an Ask Jim session, and about the bus, there was issues with the bus. There was a whole bunch of dramas and stuff.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
I won't go into it. I had to ask you about it. That wasn't a good start from us anyway, from our perspective, where we obviously had big expectations on you guys, and then we dropped the ball, or whoever the supplier was dropped the ball with the bus company. So it didn't get off to the best start.
No, look, it didn't. It was pretty funny, really. Like, the first couple of days of training, it's all about, customer service, being on time, being punctual, doing what you say you're going to do. And we didn't have a bus at the airport to pick us up. So, yeah, it was pretty fun.
I do remember, I find that funny. I overheard, I thought I had to step in and just try and talk about it because it was very bad timing. There's a few things going on actually at the time. But what were you doing prior to Jim's Mowing anyway, and what sort of prompted the change for you?
So I spent probably the last almost 15 years in the mining industry, particularly relating to the heavy tyres. I was a heavy tyre fitter, doing all the big dump trucks and things. It had been good to me for a long time, but it hadn't taken me where I'd wanted to go. And we'd had some stuff happening within the family that, we'd lost our son in July last year, and that had sort of rocked the family quite a bit, as these things do. And we're all coping in our own ways, and I wasn't doing really good at all from a mental health point of view. And I was sitting on a client's site one day, and I went, and I just, it just sort of washed over me, and I cried uncontrollably for about 10 minutes. And I went, no, this is not right. I can't keep doing this. So that was on a Friday about midday. So I had some heavy conversations with the family over the weekend, and this decision was clear that I had to change what I was doing because the work environment had become unsupportive and toxic and wasn't good for me to be around when I had my own struggles as it was. So then I began investigating everything I possibly could. And I've looked at all of the gym's competitors. It turned up some I didn't even know were there. Looked at all of their models and looked at the gym's model and felt that gym's was the right fit for me. And it was the direction I needed to go. And I needed to sort of be working for myself for a little bit and be in my own headspace and try to get back to a better me.
And were you a FIFO worker, or you?
Yeah, I did do some FIFO, but I was Perth based for the last 5 years. But some of that time was FIFO over that 15 years.
Yeah, I did 6 months in Kalgoorlie when I was younger as a driller offsider for a bit, and I thought that's enough for me. I'm going to go to uni. So that was it's not an easy existence. It's very tough.
No, it's not.
It can be very tough. And so with you, why was it then Jim's Mowing? Were you looking to get into did you have a passion for gardening, or what was it about that franchise, or was it just something that you knew the brand, or you liked the idea of working in the garden, or what was it about it?
I've always enjoyed doing my own lawns and got a lot of satisfaction out of that. And obviously Jim's is, the biggest brand in the space, and it's the first thing people think of when they want to do their lawns or gardens and they don't want to do it themselves. That resonated with me, and that, I had people say to me, why don't you just go and do it on your own, and why are you paying them money for, just do it yourself? And, that option was there, but with where we were at in life and my mental health, I didn't want the hard grind that went with that, and the slower burn potentially. If I was ever able to be successful, I felt it would have been a lot slower process and a lot harder work, and I didn't feel I was mentally ready for that. And with the support network that Jim's offers that I'd uncovered throughout my research and my early conversations with people, it just gave me a lot of confidence that this was the right fit for me.
Yeah, I find it weird. Like, everyone just thinks, just you don't need gym, start yourself. It's real easy and you're going to be successful. And as you would know with your research, and I know for myself, it's not easy to start a business, even as a franchisee. You've got to put in a lot of hard work. So I think a lot of people, it's interesting that they just go, and I do it yourself. It's real easy. It's quite the opposite, even with the franchise, if you have to do it.
Yeah, it is. And even the franchise has got, it doesn't just, you don't just sort of show up, put the shirt on and money comes in. You've got to do stuff. You've got to work at it.
I'm glad you said that, because sometimes we don't make it sound too easy, but a franchise is not just a foolproof solution to success. You've got to do your part in it as well. So
yeah, absolutely. And I knew that going in, that I was going to have to put in some work and hold up my end of the bargain. But it was the fact that you've got all the systems, you've already, you've made all the mistakes and ironed out all the kinks. So I don't want to go and do all that again. And that to me, when, it's like having the horse and walk and not riding the horse. Why would I walk? Why would I walk when I could ride the horse?
Absolutely. Yeah. And how's your lawn looking at home? I'll probably get a photo of your lawn to post, but how's your lawn look? Because I know in WA, it's like bowling, but when I was there anyway, bowling greens, and you got a lot of a lot of water reticulation, you got water every day and these sorts of things.
Yeah, mine's not like that. Out the front, it's got, it's got trailers and caravans and things and cars and stuff parked all over, and so it's a bit how do you do? But out the back, it's not too bad. I got 4 dogs, so I've got to manage it around the dogs too. Yeah. They can be a bit rough on it, but it's pretty good lawn. Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, I've got mine here with 2 dogs, and it's hard for me to maintain. But it can be a full-time job with the dogs to pick up the poo and all the whiz and all that sort of stuff, keeping it looking good.
Oh yeah, yep.
Now with the train besides the bus, how was the training experience?
Yeah, look, really, really good. I really enjoyed that. I got a lot out of that, especially around some of the business related stuff. If you've not had your own business before, or even if you had, some of the tips and the tricks and the knowledge that was imparted over there was stuff that wasn't front of mind for me. It wasn't stuff I would have thought of, but it's been really good to bring that away and have that knowledge now.
Did you buy a split mark, or did you buy a new sale when you
started? No, I bought a new territory, what I call a blank territory with no clients.
And how many clients do you have now?
I've got 43 regulars, 3 of which are commercial.
That's before spring, which is great.
So, yeah, and I've built that through the winter, and there's been a couple that, look, I don't know if you'd call them regulars, but they ring me up. They don't want a regular service, but then a few weeks will go by, they'll call you again, and then they'll call you again, and they're semi-regular, I guess, but I don't consider them a regular because they could just easily stop calling. It's not like I've put it into a schedule. They just call me. But
and how are you enjoying the work itself?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's got me fresh. It's got me fit mentally. Feedback I'm getting from everyone, the person that I am now, it's definitely been the right fit. Having a conversation with someone the other day, and they asked me, how's it all going with gyms, and why did you go down that road? And I said to them, like, where I was at before when I left my job, and they went, yeah. I said, well, gyms has saved me mentally from a point of view of that. With where I was at, I was not on a good road, and I was headed to a dark space. And just an organisation like gyms to provide an opportunity for someone like myself to start their own business, and obviously, part of the process with gyms is you don't just take anyone, you take people you think are really going to honour the brand and make it successful. And for an organisation like gyms to put that kind of trust in me at that time in my life, it spoke volumes, and it put a lot of responsibility on me that I've got to make this work for the family. And the feedback I'm getting from people about how I am around them now just underlines that it was the right decision.
I love hearing that. I've done a lot of these interviews, and more and more now, the mental health benefits of doing the business, which is something that we don't really focus on, but maybe we should promote that a bit more. But the mental health aspect of the business is quite undersold a bit. And a lot of guys like yourself I interview and hearing their stories, it's a massive change. Daniel Hills, I had him from building inspections, and he basically had a lot of depression and things like this and was happy to share it. And he said it basically changed his life because he was, just the support, and he was out there and he was just out of everyone around him, and it really helped him out of a dark place as well. So it's quite a common thing for me to hear now with people. So I'm glad that you're happy to share it, because I think not a lot of people have the foresight like yourself to know they need to do a change and actually do it. I'm in an arm for a long time, and it's great to hear.
And that was the thing. I was conscious of where I was at and that I was deteriorating, and the thoughts that I had in my head and the road that I was on mentally, it wasn't going to a good place. And if I tried to tough it out at that job, or if I'd just gone and got employment elsewhere and worked for another boss, whilst it's fresh, I wasn't going there as the best version of me. And I would have taken some struggles with me and then potentially not made the best of that opportunity. And then I just would have been resetting 4 months later. I recognized that I needed to be in my own headspace for a period of time and have a little bit more control over my time and the type of tasks that I do. And this business, gyms, the franchise gave me the opportunity to do that, to have that element of control and flexibility. And if I was struggling with my mental health that day, as you know, with this job, a lot of the clients, they're not on site when you're there. And so that just allows me to deal with me. I don't have to deal with people. I don't have to be a certain way to please people. I can just go about my job and process what I've got to process to get out the other side of that day. Whereas when you're in an employment and you're in a business, you're interacting with teammates and potentially customers and clients and things all the time. And you need to be able to behave a certain way and be at a given level 100% of the time. And I wasn't able to do that. So
yeah, you have to put a mask on all the time. That's the thing, right? If you work in those environments, you have to have a mask up, and you change your personality based on different people and things like that. Whereas with what you're doing by yourself and the client's not there, or you might not have any customers for the day, you can just do you.
Yeah, exactly right. And that was where I needed to be at, and until I could sort of rebuild and get myself back where I could do people better again, I guess. And
what was the first week like then with the whole change? So you've gone from 15 years of employment to doing this, and now you're your own boss, you're away, the leads are going to come through, you got gyms online and things like that. So how did you go first week?
Yeah, first week it was a little daunting. It was a little quiet. There was a couple of jobs that I was sort of that were pushed across me by my franchisor, so that sort of gave me.
Who's your franchisor? Sorry,
Peter Rogers.
Oh, Pete Rogers. Yeah, Pete's a great bloke.
Yeah, Pete's been unbelievable. He set me up with a couple of jobs to get started with. That for him, and then just a couple of friends that he knew that needed something done. Just to get me out there and build my confidence and just get me rolling. And then the leads started to come in, and I started to have to do the whole quoting thing on my own. And
that's very daunting to quote. I think everyone's got that issue, the quoting at the start, don't we? I think every single person. Yeah.
And that was the issue. I was really daunted by the whole quoting process because you want to win the work, but you don't want to win it too cheap. And then at the same time, you're also trying to develop a trust relationship with the client that you can deliver a good job for them. And, when you're starting in a new field, it's one thing to win the work, but then you actually got to be able to deliver the service. So that was a whole daunting thing for me. But, I learned pretty quickly and I just got out there and faced what came my way as far as the leads went and called the people and went and did the quotes I just attacked it head on, and I guess you sort of fumble your way through as best you can and you learn.
And what setup did you go from an equipment point of view?
Look, I've gone a mix of petrol and battery. I went with the Bush Ranger petrol mower, petrol whipper. I don't know if you know the Atom Edger. It's a little single wheel model that you hold. Yeah, I went with that purely I just thought it's just a point of difference, and I like the fact that it's so lightweight and maneuverable. I found that to be quite good. And the battery equipment, I had some existing batteries and some power tools here that I inherited from my son who passed that were all basically brand new. So I just tooled up with that brand to support the batteries because I already had them. I looked at that like if you had 200, litres of fuel already sitting here, you're not going to go and buy a battery. You're going to go and buy a petrol gear to use it. So that was kind of why I approached that. So I went with the AEG brand purely because that's the batteries that I had, and that's been good. It's definitely got some deficiencies in terms of some of the other better brands. But as that gear wears out, I will transition to higher spec brands, I guess. Yeah, it's been good, and it was cost effective. That was the other thing I liked about it. It was a heap cheaper than some of your Milwaukees and your Makitas and some of these higher end brands. So that was also good from a point of view of getting started off a low base. It was cost effective, especially when I had so many batteries. But I'm well aware of where it sits in the market and that I'm going to need to improve that as time goes by.
You mentioned Peter before, your franchisor, because I know he does a coffee club or something on a Saturday, or I think I don't know if he does the swim club still, who's telling me about something. Do you go to that or?
Look, occasionally I've missed a couple, but
you've had gone. Oh, cool.
Yeah. He does still have the coffee club from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't know about the swim club. I haven't heard about that, but he does still have the coffee club from time to time.
And maybe I might be wrong about the swim club. I know he told me about a club. I might have been biking or something, but he said he gets it on a Saturday and a few of the boys will go across there, which I think is great because that's something not many franchisors do on the weekend. So I was really happy to hear that. And then from the actual work you're doing it yourself, what type of jobs are you doing?
Yeah, look, in the area I'm in, it's an area that's, I suppose, socioeconomically is on the rise, but it's at the lower end of the scale. So a lot of the jobs are.
Where are you? Sorry, which area? I'm
in Seville Road near Armidale.
Okay, Armidale. Yeah.
Which is, yep. Yeah, it's generally not looked on favourably by a lot of people, but it's I've been here over 20 years now, and I've seen the changes and the growth, and it's building. There's a lot of new estates going in with higher quality homes, higher quality lawns, higher value people, I guess, from a financial point of view.
Well, I used to live in Barangaroo, mate. So I used to live in Barangaroo, which is near Bowdra, Girraween, and Alexander Heights for 8 years.
Yeah, so you'd understand.
We're
a little bit like Bowdra in the south, I guess. But look, a lot of the jobs I've got, you get people that have left the backyard go for 6 or 9 months or more, and you've got grass that's almost up to your waist, and it's a lot of just weed grass. And I've picked up for some of those clients that were looking for a one-off service, and I've I've had conversations with them and I've got most of them now as regulars because it's the best way to maintain their lawn and and they want a nicer lawn. They just don't know how to do it. Yeah. So I've had a lot of what I call slashing work or recovery work, where you got to recover a lawn that's just been left go and it's out of control, and you've got to get it back short, and then you got to start to get it looking more like a lawn and less like weeds and sand.
So there's a lawn care point of view as well. So how do you do the rejuvenation projects? I think it's a good thing to talk.
With some of them, it sort of depends on the lawn they've got, and some of them have got good soil and they've just let it go, and it's just become the grass is long and the weeds are long. And I reference off my own. I don't use any product on my back lawn. I wish I had a photo of it, but I don't use any product on my back lawn. It's a deep green color all year round, grows phenomenally in the summer. I've got to cut it sometimes twice a week in the summer. Even with the dogs, it's a phenomenal little patch of lawn. So what I say to these people, the more you mow it, and I try to. You do get that, you're just saying that because you want more. No, look, yeah, there's the money side of it, but you're either going to spend money mowing it or you're going to spend money putting products on it. I said, you can choose. I said, but you're going to spend money somewhere if you want a nice quality lawn. I said, I can give you that, but you're going to spend money and it's going to be me doing the work either way. And with some of them, they've just opted for mowing and they want to see how it goes. And we've got a couple that have come back really, really well. Others are needing some products, so we're putting some fertilizer in, maybe top dressing it, things like that.
Absolutely. And I know it's really dry in WA. So do you mean have you been asked to do any reticulation, like the irrigation system sort of stuff yet, or is it not yet?
No, not at the moment, because we've had sort of one of our wettest winters for quite some time over here. So people have just sort of not really thought about it because they haven't really needed it. But I'm sure that'll come in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Now the weather's starting to turn, I'm sure people will want to go and turn their sprinklers on, and they'll go, they don't want to be out there hand watering, or they got broken sprinklers. I've got a couple of inquiries about repairing or improving existing retic systems, but nothing about laying new one yet.
Yeah, I think you get a few of them, because I know a lot of the WA franchisees that talk, it's always retic and it's soft landscaping and things like that, because it's very dry there. So every garden needs to have that system firing. So, and I was going to say as well, with the doing the business itself, I'm glad to hear it married up with what we sort of put out there. Has there been anything that's been surprising to you about it?
Yeah, I was surprised I was so busy through the winter, to be honest. And I think I was a little fortunate in that regard, that maybe it was just timing. Maybe this area was underserviced. I think it's a combination of those. But also I've got, my wife works in the real estate space as a property manager.
That's a good connection to have.
Yeah, it is. And there's 9 girls in her office. So I've had some work through them, and that's building. But on the back of that, I've got 2 other real estates that I work for as well now. One of them, I've only done the 2 jobs, kind of not their number one guy that they go to, but I'm there if they need. And then the other one, I've become the number one go-to, and getting jobs, 3-4 jobs a week from both of those. And through the winter, some of it's been gutter cleaning. A lot of it's been these recovery lawns. Tenants moved out, left the lawns go. New tenants coming in. They need the place looking really good, so that tenant has to maintain that standard. And I'm the guy they're talking to. So
and haven't even hit spring yet. We're about to go to spring now. It's going to be a big boom and a big adjustment your first spring.
Yeah, and look, and I've got a couple of weeks off. I leave on Sunday actually for a family holiday. That's been in the works before I joined Jim's. So I'll be taking the first 2 weeks of September off. So that's going to challenge me a little bit. And then I'm going to come back, and obviously I've got regulars that I'll need to get straight back into servicing. And then obviously the leads will get turned back on, and it'll just be game on.
It's going to be pretty busy. And I was going to say as well, what's been the most challenging thing of doing the business then? The challenging part?
For me, historically, I've not worked in a space where I've had a lot of exposure to computer systems and CMS systems and things like that. So learning that, the gym, and it's not difficult to use. It's so, I'm finding it really good, the Jim's jobs and the Jim's online and things like that. But learning all of that was, and getting my invoicing right and my quoting right, that was the challenging part for me, was the back end stuff, that after you get home and the boots are off, doing all the other stuff.
Yeah, it's challenging for everyone, I think, Mark. So I don't think you're alone in that one. I think it's probably a really common thing. So you're using Jim's jobs, and obviously Jim's online to do your work requirements and things like that. Are you only using Jim's jobs to manage your invoicing and stuff, or using anything else? Or
currently just Jim's jobs, but I don't know if I'll move to another platform alongside it or completely as time goes by. I know a lot of guys do. I'm not using the new Jimbo app currently on my phone, but that's the only thing that I think, if I could be more mobile with it. So when I'm in the car, I finish a job, I could do an invoice. At the moment, I run a little tablet that runs like the computer, and I just hotspot it off my phone and run that in the car. It saves me having to have 2 platforms, the Jimbo and then the Jim's jobs, and be switching between the 2. I just keep it all.
Well, the boys should be able to, they're going to, they hopefully, I know they're doing it now, they'll be able to migrate everything over, including all the scheduling and stuff, into the new one. So that's going to be available soon. So that's been sort of the block from people shifting over. So you've got all your diary and stuff in there. And obviously you want that to all come across. There's no point at coming across if you're not going to bring all that. So hopefully that's going to be next month or two where they bring out the full migration where you can bring all your data over and they'll support you in doing that. And that way you can do all your invoicing on the phone and stuff. Aaron, yeah.
I mean, at the moment I've been using the tablet and that's a little bit clunky because you're hotspotting. It can be a little bit slow, but in saying that, if you've already got the job in the system and whatnot, to punch out the invoice, it's 2 or 3 minutes, gives me a chance to catch my breath, have a nibble of some food, grab a drink, do the invoice, move to the next job.
I'm glad you're using something because I have guys still, and it's nothing wrong with it, who have the black book. They love the old paper diary. There's nothing wrong with that. So it's you're ahead of a lot of people just by using the actual system.
Yeah, and look, there's days that I'm a bit busy and I sort of forget to do one or two, and then I've got to do it all when I get home. And when I started, I was just leaving it all till I got home because the amount of jobs I was getting done in a day where I thought I was busy then, I'm doing heaps more than that now, and feeling like I've still got time in the day, and that's just come about because I've gotten more efficient and better on the tools. But when I started, I was getting home and doing 2 to 3 hours worth of admin, just trying to catch up on the day and answering all the emails and responding to all the quote requests. And I was 2-3 hours doing that. So I'm trying to cut that down by being a little bit more fluid on the run with it.
Yeah. So a lot of the guys I do the day in the road with, they have the new one and I'll just do everything on their phone. So end of the job, go to the app, send the invoice straight away or things like that. So if you can get across to it, or hopefully eventually hopefully every time you go in the car, you can just send the invoice then, or send whatever you've got from the app directly, and you won't have to worry about that sort of stuff when you get home.
Yeah, that would be the ideal thing if I can, but at the moment, like I'm doing the same thing from the tablet. It's just a little bit slower because I'm hotspotting it a little bit clunky. I mean, I could probably buy the wireless dongle to make that a little bit faster and what have you. But the other side to it is it just increases the risk of something that could get stolen or damaged or lost when I'm out on the road. So.
Absolutely. So how long is the admin for you at night now when you go home?
Oh, look, I've condensed it. I've gotten a lot more efficient at using the system now and smarter in the way I set the week up and sort my jobs out. But I've condensed that down a bit now. It all depends on what's going on. Like I get home and depends. Like I got home yesterday and I had 2 quotes to do, one of to write up, one of which was quite extensive. It was some soft landscaping and stuff. But then you go to check your emails and there's 3 or 4 quote requests from the real estate companies, and you've got to put all those clients into the system so you can go and do the quote and put, so there's a bit to do there, and it varies from day to day. I have days I get home, I've got no new emails or anything to deal with, and it's quite quick. But days like that, I've got 4 or 5 clients I've then got to set up in the system so I can generate a job to go and do a quote. And, sometimes I've got to email the real estate back to clarify details and go. But so I could be on the computer for 2-3 hours. Sometimes it's just half an hour.
And I was going to say as well with route optimization. So how do you plan your week? Are you looking at shifting jobs to be closer to you, or how do you sort of look at your week?
Yeah, I've just moved into that this month, really starting to, because obviously you pick clients up at different times, and I've got I got one suburb where I had I think 8 or 9 clients, but the way I've picked them up, they were all scattered across different days, but they're all on very similar cycles of when I visit them. So with my holidays coming up, it gave me the perfect opportunity because some of the jobs fell due while I was away. So I communicate with my clients, I might need to move you forward or move you back to get around that holiday. And then they've all been really good about that and understood the reasons why. They didn't want to be missed. So I said, well, I either got to move you from maybe a 4-week to 3-week and do it before the holiday, or push you back to 5 weeks and do you after. But what that allowed me to do was I used that as a mechanism to then line them all up. And I had a day yesterday, I had 9 clients in the same day on the same suburb.
It's great. That's handy.
Yeah. Look, and prior to that, when I had days when I started out because I've started with a brand new territory, I was driving to 6 different suburbs in a day. And sometimes you're driving out to do a 20-minute quote that you don't win, and then you got to drive 20 minutes the other way to a job that might be half an hour. Then it was really all over the show, and that's what made the admin so challenging when I got home, because the days were longer than they needed to be.
So for those that don't know what Mark's talking about, when you start with gyms, you have to be in all areas, right? And you have this big area. And as you said, you can get a lead here, you can get a lead here, you can get a lead here. And because you've got to build your business in the early days, you just got to take everything, right? And then the goal is, as what you're saying is, over time, you can then hopefully start shifting things around to be way more efficient and eventually splits and stuff and sell off some clients and things.
That's right. I'm grouping the suburbs now as best I can. And like today, I've had all jobs locally around the house. And that was deliberately strategically planned that way so I could be available for this and finish at a good time.
I appreciate it.
But again, that came on the back of my holidays. So that, in a way, has been it was been the trigger that forced me to sort of manipulate it around a bit. I was looking at it anyway and starting to try and tighten it up, but it just made it so much easier with those holidays coming up and the clients knowing that I'm going to be on leave, them not wanting to miss their service. They were willing to be sort of shifted around, and I have indicated that'll be their new pattern now. Like that'll be the date that I come. And
that's great. I was going to say then, from being in the business now, what's your perspective or what's your belief around your customer service standards and difference? Because there's a lot of independents around. There's a lot of other brands now. There's a lot of backyard barriers who will start up and things like that. So what do you think's your point of difference, or what makes your business so different to theirs?
Yeah, look, I know of some independents that work out of my local area, some of which, do really well. And I was on a job just on Tuesday and I got to a house and an independent turned up at the house next door while I was there. And, we had a quick chat and, swapped details in case we sort of need some support later on. But look, my point of difference, I guess, it's been said of me before that I should have worked in sales and because I could sell ice to Eskimos and talk underwater, with a mouthful of marbles and things like that. So I just try to find common ground with people and try to sort of, you go to some people and they're expecting, you can just tell there's a vibe where they're thinking the price is going to be high or you're going to rip them off or whatever. And I just try to find a way to connect with them. And if you get that right, and I try to do it fairly early before we even talk about price or do too much talking about their job, and you can sort of see their body language shift and their shoulders drop and relax, and they're now more open for a conversation. If I can open them up to a conversation by sort of connecting with them as a human and as a good person first, what I'm finding is what we talk about in the quote and my pricing is less relevant. And I've had jobs where we've had the initial conversation and they've said, when can you do it? And I said, well, I haven't given you the price of the quote yet. They said, no, it doesn't matter. Just when can you start? And that's a rapport I try to build in the first sort of, minute or so of speaking to them. I had one guy, I go to his house, I got a quote request. I go around there and I'm walking up to the door and he's got a doormat there, and I've looked at his doormat and it's a Collingwood doormat of all things. And Collingwood was playing Fremantle that weekend, and Fremantle's the team I support. And he's walked, I've knocked on the door, and he walks out the door and I'm shaking my head. And I said to him, Phil, I've already decided I can't do your job. He goes, why is that? And I pointed to his doormat. I said, that's just not going to work. And he goes, oh, don't even get me started with those blokes. And I said, well, it's on between you and me this weekend. Like, we're at it. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm a Freo boy. And he goes, oh, you'll probably beat us. Then we talked about the job and he goes, when can you do it? I said, well, I'll send you through the quote and you can make a decision once you see all the details and the price. He goes, no, just do the job. And they're the sort of things I try to do with them when I first meet them. I try to sort of take a lighthearted approach and have a bit of fun with them.
Yeah, it's a good strategy. I think a lot of guys I speak to do really well. They still mention the similar thing. It's always something observational about the property, or they might notice a car in the driveway if they're a bit of a car fanatic or something like that. And that's the first thing that I mention, as opposed to just the transactional sort of nature of, I'm here to quote you and this is that. There's nothing that as you said, building rapport like that 1 or 2 minutes as you're doing it, it's just such a good conversion tactic as well, I guess, because even though it's not the intention with it, but you're far more likely to convert if people can like you within that first minute. I think it's the first 7 seconds people decide whether they like you or not. Some crazy stuff I've heard before as well. So it definitely does count.
Yeah, and I find I've got to try to, like a lot of people are, they've obviously had an experience somewhere in their life, or some people just expect every tradie that comes out or every contractor that comes out is trying to take them for a ride, So they come out and they've got a defensive body language and a defensive mindset straight away, and I'm conscious of that. So I immediately set out to try and disarm that before we even talk about their job.
Yeah, it's a great opinion, and I think it's getting worse, Mark, to be honest. So I think it's a good thing for gyms long term, because it's not good for customers, I guess, if they don't use gyms. But I think I agree with you on that one, from that sentiment for sure.
Yeah, and I find if I can disarm them, it does 2 things. They're more open to have a conversation and be guided in, because they think they want a given thing. They're trying to get a given result. They don't really know how to do it. So you can guide them and steer them and offer them suggestions and talk them through the job. But you get less opposition to your price if you can sort of disarm them, and it's coming from a place they're likely to pay you a little bit more than they'd pay someone else because they trust you and they like you. And I do find that if I can disarm them and have a bit of a giggle with them, my conversion rate is higher.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely tell you'd be pretty personable with people. I was going to ask you about your Fremantle stuff, but I don't need to do that now because I did see it in the background there, and you got some vintage stuff there that you're collecting. So who are they playing this week? Is it next week in the finals? Who are you playing?
Yeah, we got Gold Coast over here on next Saturday, yeah.
It should be a good game. First time for the
big crack, I reckon.
Yeah.
I reckon, look, Gold Coast done a little bit of travelling and they've come off a couple of short breaks, so I like our chances, but you never know in finals, do you?
Well, they had a pretty good warm-up match on Wednesday, so it was pretty much a training run for them. So
yeah, it was.
Confidence booster for them to going into it.
Yeah, that's some black and red Richards hats to run around.
Yeah, they do. That's my team. So I was quite, I watched the first quarter and said that's enough for me. They were obviously off in Bali or wherever they're going for their season trip already. So yeah, not a good one. But hopefully the Freo boys can do well for you.
Yeah, hopefully they can. Yeah.
Do you go to many games or?
Oh, look, I go as often as I can. I'm not a member. I was before I was FIFO and then in the mining space, but then it's just not, it just doesn't work when you're in that space because you're never home. But yeah, I go as many as I can if I can get a ticket. And yeah, it's been good. I've seen them play a handful of times this year, and yeah, I think our chances are good.
Yeah, but hopefully you can get along to a final or two. That'd be great because it's beautiful ground what you've got over there now. So it's an awesome ground and experience.
Yeah, it's a sensational stadium. It really, really is.
Yeah, I remember the old Subiaco, and I went to a few wacko for cricket and stuff. And yeah, it's a massive upgrade where it is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, look, the location's good, but the stadium itself is just brilliant. It's world class.
Absolutely amazing. I was going to say, Mark, is there anything else I should ask you that I haven't asked you? That's sort of running through my head about the questions.
No, look, like look, I'm happy with what I'm doing, and it's ticking along. Like I said, I've got the 43 regulars, and I've got some I still haven't heard back from on quotes and things like that. But when I'm talking to clients, you often get a lead come through, and when you go to talk to them, one of the first things I ask them on that first phone call, and I try to ring them as quick as possible. And I've had feedback like, wow, that was quick, and things like that. And I've sort of tuned into it now. You can sort of hear in their voice on the phone how they're gonna be when you get there, and the faster I call back, the more likely they're going to be relaxed when I get there. And that was a key thing that was talked about at training was, call them as quick as you can. It increases your chances. And I've certainly found that to be the case. And that turns into income as far as I'm concerned. The better I get at that, the better my chances of building that income are going to be. And when I get to talk to them, I straight away ask them, is this, even on the phone in that first phone call, are you looking for a one-off or a regular? And a lot of times they thought they wanted a one-off, but when you go and see the job, you've got an opportunity there because you've planted the seed in their mind to let them know they need more than just a one-off service if they want the garden that they're trying to achieve.
It sounds obvious, but like calling someone back quick is just such a no-brainer when it comes to lead conversion, isn't it? Because everyone thinks that's what happens, and you think that's obvious for tradies and for independents out there, but we know ourselves if you use the tradie or you try to get a quote from someone before, that's quite often not the case at all.
Yeah, and I've had a couple of bizarre ones. Like I had one guy, I was on a roof cleaning some gutters, and I had a number show up on my phone that wasn't a mobile number. It was like a landline, and it was dispatched through. And the guy picks it up. I pick up the phone. The guy just starts talking and asking when I can come around and do this job. And I'm like, well, who are you? Like, what? How did you get my number? Like, where did you go? And what happened? He was on the phone to the call center. Somehow or other, he's gotten put through
a live
straight
transfer.
through.
Yeah,
a live transfer. And I had no idea that call was even coming in. And he's talking to me like he knew me.
That's an option on the system. You can do a live transfer if you want. Or you can turn it off. Yeah.
Yeah. He was looking for a same day service, and I managed to get around to the job that afternoon and got it done for him. But like that was just a bit of a weird one. And I had another one where the leads pinged to my phone, and I happened to be just changing over my whippy cord, so I just sort of didn't have a lot in my hands, no noise. So straight away, pick the phone up, look at the lead, make the call. And it sort of rings out. And then I called it a second time just on the off chance I'd gotten something wrong. And they said, wow, that was quick. And what do you mean that was quick? And they said, I was on the phone to the call center when you were ringing me. Yeah. And then like I got around there later that afternoon to do the quote, and they just shook my hand and said, I can't believe you called so quickly. Like, when can you do the job? And they hadn't even told me what the job was. So, there's a real positive for being fast on that phone.
I think it's people had a bad experience elsewhere. They don't have a high expectation, unfortunately, sometimes of trades, businesses or homeschool businesses. So I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, and the other thing I've tried to do, especially in the early stages when I didn't have a lot of work and I was building, if I got a lead, I called them as fast as I could, and then I arranged to do the quote that same afternoon. And they were like, really? You're coming today? Yeah, I'll be there this afternoon. And, I would give them a window of time that I'd be there, and I'd get there in that window of time. And they're like, oh, I didn't expect you out today. I'm like, well, that's part of what we do. It's part of who gyms are. And straight away, they're like, oh, wow. And I give them a business card. And then again, you're often 3 or 4 out of 5 are going, when can you start? You haven't discussed the quote, your price, the job. They're blown away that they've got someone so responsive.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it sounds like it's obvious, as we've been said earlier, but we know it's not. And if you've used tradies yourself, you don't get that. So it's great to hear that that's what customers are saying to you. And I'm going to ask, because we always get this question, you probably get it from your mates as well. Does Jim take 40% of your income, 30% of every job, or how does that all work, fees?
No, not at all. And I have had a little bit of that, it's a funny thing, but I get asked about it, how much they take. I say, well, it all depends on, how many leads I've taken and, but it's a funny thing. And as I said, I looked at the other models where they don't charge for leads, but they take a percentage. So the more you earn, the more you pay and all those kind of models. And I like the fact that gyms give you a start. Nothing comes for free. You got to pay for something, and the support and the mechanism and the systems in behind gyms is what I pay for what I get. I don't want it to be, and please don't take this to Jim, but I think it should be more. The value I'm getting far exceeds what I'm spending.
I'm glad to hear that. And I agree with you. I've been 14 years for gyms, and probably the thing me and Jim do probably 3 to 4 videos a week, Mark, about 40%, 30%, 50%, just because we want to get through people's head that's not the case. And I think we've probably reached millions of people on TikTok and things like that, but it's still they think we do 20, 30%. So I'm glad to hear from your perspective, it's a good deal.
Yeah, and I guess it's going to vary on what each individual's income level is. And for me at the moment, it's probably higher than others because I started with no clients and I'm still building, but it's certainly not, it's not at 15 or 20%, and it's only going to get smaller as I grow my income. So
that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time today. You've got a good footing in your business now from winter. It sounds like hopefully you have a great holiday and you come back and you're going to be getting flogged in spring. I reckon you're going to be flat out and hopefully have a massive business by the end of the year, and you'll need another holiday by the end of the year.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to the challenge, and I've got a number of clients, 2 commercial ones and a domestic, and 3 or 4 domestic ones where the properties are big enough for a ride-on. So I've just organised the purchase of a ride-on. I had a borrowed mail that I ran for a couple of jobs just to give it a trial run to make sure it was going to be suitable for those jobs, and now I've ordered one of those. So that's going to take me to another level of efficiency as well.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a property the other day. It's something like nearly 500 square meter vacant block that I was slashing, and I was push mowing it. Then I've got the ride-on on there for the second visit, a couple of weeks later, and just worlds apart in efficiency and time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've interviewed a few franchisees, and they said that I think I asked for the best bit of business for us, and they go, buy a walker, buy a stand-up mower. It will pay for itself back in such a short amount of time. So
yeah, and I sort of knew. For me, I'm at the stage now of that route optimization. You said grouping the jobs into suburbs and then finding efficiencies and the right, that was one mechanism. Getting the right on was another. Trying to be a little bit more fluid with my invoicing on the road is another. Because the more I can do of that, the longer into the day I can work because I've got less admin to do when I get home. And as we turn in the season, I think all of those 3 mechanisms are going to be super important for me to take the business to the next level.
And it's great you have an improving mindset as well. I think that's the key, wanting to improve. So that's probably the best thing.
Yeah, and I'm constantly looking at each job when I go there and trying to find if I can do it better and is there a way I can give them a better result each time I'm there, or is there more, if I was doing a job at a given price and now all of a sudden I'm doing it 20 minutes quicker, am I still, I look at it from a value proposition. They could look at that and go, okay, I'm not getting what I paid for anymore. Yeah. I try to find ways I can still give them that value. Now, do I find other things to do and not charge for to give them the original time I was giving them? Or do I just see it as an efficiency win for me and move on? Sometimes I think you've got to go each way. Sometimes it'll be a win for me. Sometimes I'll find more to do for them to give them the value because they're the kind of personality or client that's what they're going to want.
No, it's a good way to look at it. Well, Mark, thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate it. Thank you for sharing all the information you've done. And I'm glad to hear how well it's been going for you, especially from the mental health stuff. We've got a bit of a passion for with gyms, and hearing how that's helped you it's been great, and it's what the business is designed to do. And good luck on your holiday. I didn't ask where you're going. You going up?
We're headed up to Exmouth with the caravan. We're going to scatter my son's ashes up there. So.
Exmouth, beautiful part of the world, and it's obviously going to be an emotional time for you and your family. What do you do this way of the world?
Yeah, we'll be up there for his birthday. He would have been 21, so we're going to be up there for his birthday and scatter his ashes and just have a little bit of a celebration and then some time to ourselves.
I hope everything goes well during that period, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. You're a great fella, and I really appreciate the email you shared with Jim, and that's obviously a part of the reason why we wanted you on here because it was a very powerful story. And I'm just hopefully you can keep building your business the way you are, and it keeps going the way it's going well for you. And you've got a great attitude, Mark, and you're doing a really good job. So we appreciate you coming on.
Thanks very much, Joel. Really appreciate it.
Nice. Thank you for listening to the episode of the More Than Just Mowing podcast by Jim's Mowing. If you do need help with your local gardening expert, please give us a call on 131 546 for Australia, 0800 454 654 for New Zealand, or head to jimsmowing.com.au or jimsmowing.co.nz. If you liked what you heard, please make sure you leave us a review as well, wherever you consume your podcast. We appreciate your support. And until next episode, we hope you have a great week.